I think it's fairly obvious if you watch the Young Turks that I'm a little frustrated with Hillary Clinton's campaign. I think that she's very pro-establishment and would not bring enough change. Well, some of our viewers are frustrated with me, and someone tweeted in, and it made me pause. And one of the things we try to do on the show is understand each other's perspectives. So I want to try to get white people to understand black people's perspectives and vice versa, men, women, etc. And she wrote in, Cenk, if you had been a Democrat for the last 40 years and a woman for the last 40 years, you would see this differently. I'm with her. And I thought, yeah, that's kind of true. I would. So there are two parts to that statement. Let's break it down. So let's try to understand her perspective. And then I want to explain my perspective to those folks as well, right? So if you had been a Democrat for the last 40 years, so that's frustrating to us people who are not loyalists of the Democratic Party. We think, why do you care? Why do you care about the party? I mean, isn't the point the progressive principles and ideas? And if the Democrats are doing that, great. If they're not, why do you support the Democrats? Well, if you've been a Democrat your whole life, it becomes a part of your identity. So what I think the pro-Sanders people are not getting is that when you attack that identity, people feel, right or wrong, that you've attacked them. So they've internalized the word Democrat, so it doesn't mean a political party who exercises power, right? To them, it means me, my dad, my mom, me. I grew up a Democrat. I've always been a Democrat. And so when you say Democrats are wrong, you're telling me, and this is their perspective, understand, that I'm wrong. And so when I think about it that way, I go, oh, okay, I get it, but that's not what we intend. What we're intending to say is that the party has gone away from what it used to be. So if 40 years ago you were a Democrat, you would have had very good reason to be a Democrat. And so you would have a completely different perspective as to what a Democrat is. Back then, a Democrat was a liberal, was a progressive, was a fighter. So back then, you know, you've got Ralph Nader beating Richard Nixon all over the country, getting seatbelts put into cars, saving millions of lives. You've got Nader getting Nixon to do EPA. Nixon set up the Environmental Protection Agency because of the pressure that progressives put on him, OSHA, et cetera. Back then, you were right to be super proud to be a Democrat. This day and age, well, a Democrat means something slightly different. Usually it means someone who plays ball with the system, takes a lot of money, and then says, well, I'll be a little bit better than the Republicans on social issues. But don't worry, I'm pro-business. And for a new generation, now see our perspective on it. We look at it and go, well, that's not good enough. That is not the Progressive Party. That is not the Liberal Party. That's largely a corporatist party that agrees with me a little bit on social issues, or maybe a lot with me on social issues, but on the business issues, on issues that affect our wages, our education, so many parts of our lives. And for some of us, whether we get put in prison, right? Whether it's for smoking marijuana or the prison industrial complex that preys upon the poor and a lot of parts of the middle class. And when we see some or a lot of the Democratic Party supporting that, and we speak out against the Democratic Party, we're not saying you're a bad person. We're saying maybe that party has changed into something else and that you shouldn't associate your identity with them. And then on to the second part of it that is also very important, which is, well, Cenk, you haven't been a woman for 40 years. Well, that's certainly true. And when I thought about that, I thought, well, look, I didn't go through all that woman did. And so maybe she suffered a great deal of discrimination. Maybe she lived in a context completely different than mine. And that's not even a maybe, that's almost certainly true. We've had Eleanor Clift on the show many times. She was a writer for Newsweek for a long, long time. And one day she told us the story of how she got the job in the first place. She was a secretary at Newsweek. Because back then, women could only be secretaries. And she was one of the first secretaries ever promoted into the news department and eventually became a reporter. So she's with us today. That's not a story from 200 years ago. That's a story from 40 years ago. So if you lived in that context and you finally see a woman with an opportunity to become the most powerful person on the planet, yeah, I get it. I get why you'd be in favor of that. I get why you'd say, I'm with her. Finally, she's going to speak out for all of us. Some people, I'm very, very lucky, will come up to me and will tell me, hey, you're our voice. And that's the best compliment I could possibly get. But for a lot of women like that, Hillary is their voice. So let's remember that, let's respect that, and understand it. Now, let me give you our perspective. Since we didn't live through that, when you say, I'm with her, to us, it sounds like you're saying, I'm with her because she's a woman, and I don't care about anything else. Now, I hope you don't intend it that way, but that's how it comes across to us. Like, yeah, okay, he's more progressive. I don't care. I don't care about the progressive policy positions. I don't care about her position on taxes or trade or the prison industrial complex or any of it. I'm with her. I'm with her. She's a woman. I'm with her, and I'm not going to have a discussion about it. Now, you might think that's an unreasonable position to have, but when you say the slogan, I'm with her, it emphasizes that I'm with her right or wrong, and I'm with her because it's in her. It's in the slogan, right? So to some people who didn't live up in your context, it sounds to us almost like you're saying a slogan like, I'm with the black guy. You'd be like, whoa, what kind of slogan is that, right? Or much worse, I'm with the white guy. Although, to be fair, that's kind of Trump's slogan. He doesn't say it, but that's the undertones. So that's why it sounds weird to us. Like, don't do that. Base your voting based on policy and principles. Don't vote based on who she is as an identity because I'm the same identity as you. Now, I just told you I get why you say it, right? And I'm hoping now that you also get why some people are turned off by that, and that perhaps you're better off making a case that, well, yeah, yes, I'm with her, but I'll tell you why. And it's not just because I'm frustrated, justifiably and understandably, at all the discrimination women have faced throughout my lifetime, but also because I think she's right on education, guns, etc., whatever policy positions that you think she's better at. And please, both sides, actually examine those policy positions and see if you actually agree. And don't just base it on the context that you grew up in, because we all grew up in a slightly different context, and we're all better served if instead of basing things on our particular identity or perspective, we actually look at the facts and base it on that. Maybe that's hoping for too much, but I hope that I was a little helpful in both sides seeing each other's perspectives. That's what we try to do on the Young Turks.